Hello everybody, welcome to Theology 101. Welcome to our Friday series where we will be looking at pictures of faith from Hebrews chapter 11. The person that we will look at today is Enoch. By faith, Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found because God had taken him. Now before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. Now to understand why Enoch matters, we need to go back to Genesis chapter 5. If you look at Genesis chapter 5, you will notice that it is a genealogy. A genealogy is like Ancestry.com back in the days and was very important for ancient Near Eastern people. They want to know their ancestors and which lineage they came from because it informed them about their identity. Now you don't need to read it completely, but I do want to highlight one important phrase. And he died. Adam lived and he died. Seth lived and he died. But then notice a change. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he fathered Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. All the people mentioned until Enoch lived and died, but Enoch doesn't fit the pattern. Instead, Enoch's genealogy ends this way. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Why didn't Enoch die? Notice the phrase that comes up twice. Enoch walked with God. Enoch walked or lived a certain way which allowed him to escape death. So how did Enoch live? First, we need to understand that Enoch lived during a time when the world was very corrupt. A few generations after Enoch was the time of Noah, when God sent a flood to judge the world. The world was so corrupt during this time that Jesus said that there will never be a time as corrupt as the time of Noah until he returns. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the Son of Man. They were eating and drinking and marrying and being given in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Now, when you look at Noah, there is one phrase that comes up that reminds us of Enoch. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. The reason why Noah walked with God was partly because of Enoch. Why do I say this? Because Enoch's son was Methuselah, who was Noah's grandfather, and Methuselah lived to be 969 years old. So if you do the math, Methuselah overlapped with Noah for 600 years. Now there is an important phrase I want to highlight in Genesis chapter 5 verse 22. It said that Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah for 300 years. Notice that Enoch walked or lived a certain way after his son was born. There was something that Methuselah's birth triggered in Enoch. So what changed with Methuselah's birth? It is because Methuselah's birth came with a specific message from God. The name Methuselah can be translated as a man of descending forth. Some even translate it to mean his death will bring forth. So the idea is that with the birth of Methuselah, God will bring forth something else. And what was that? If we do a little math, we know exactly what God brought forth with the birth of Methuselah. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he fathered Lamech. Methuselah lived after he fathered Lamech 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he fathered a son and called his name Noah, saying, "Out of the ground that the Lord has cursed, this one shall bring us relief from our work and from the painful toil of our hands." So let's do a little math. Methuselah was 187 when he fathered Noah's father Lamech. Then Lamech was 182 years old when he fathered Noah. So Methuselah was 369 years old when Noah was born. Then Methuselah lived another 600 years after Noah was born. And here's the reason why he lived for so long. Look at how old Noah was when the flood came. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. Are you ready to do some more math? We know that Methuselah was 369 years old when Noah was born. And we know that Noah was 600 years old when the flood came. 600 plus 369 equals 969, which happens to be the age when Methuselah died. Did you catch what God brought forth after Methuselah's death? This means that the same year Methuselah died was the very same year God sent forth the flood. Now we know why Enoch lived a certain way after Methuselah was born. God revealed to him with the birth of his son that he was also bringing forth judgment on the world. And even though Enoch never saw the flood, he believed God's word would happen, so he preached for 300 years about God's future judgment. Now you might be wondering how I know Enoch preached about about God's coming judgment. Well, Jude talks about how Enoch was the first of many prophets who preached about God's coming judgment. It was also about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all and to convict all the ungodly of their deeds of ungodliness that they have committed in such an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things that ungodly sinners have spoken against him." Jude quotes from a book called First Enoch, which was a book that recorded the oral traditions about Enoch. Referencing this book, Jude points to Enoch as an example of a prophet who warned a wicked generation of God's coming judgment. And Enoch lived with this reality for 300 years. His son Methuselah lived with this message and told his son Lamech, who then told his son Noah about God's coming judgment. It took God 969 years to finally judge the world after he first revealed this message to Enoch. That's how long God waited before he did what he told Enoch he would do. The writer of Hebrews doesn't want you to miss the point of Enoch's life. It isn't simply to know that Enoch was only one of two people taken up to heaven and avoided death. It isn't simply to know that his son Methuselah was the longest living person in human history. The writer of Hebrews highlights Enoch to show us what it looks like to walk by faith. Remember how the writer of Hebrews defines faith? Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. Enoch lived with an assurance that God will do whatever he says, and he lived with a conviction in the coming judgment that he did not see. And since Enoch walked by faith, God rewarded him with his presence by allowing Enoch to be with him without having to experience death. If you want to study more about Hebrews chapter 11, I'll leave a link to a recommended resource below in the description box. If you missed the last video about Abel's faith, I'll leave a link here for you to watch. Until next time, see you!